Good morning to all of you out there. Welcome to the program agenda. And for our regular viewers, maraming salamat po. Thank you so much for being subscribers of Cignal TV and those of you who follow us via Facebook as well as on YouTube. Today is the end of the month. It's September 30, 2022. It's a Friday, and let's get on with the program, beginning with our very interesting daily starter and a quotation from the actress and the civil rights icon Jane Fonda. And I quote, "I love mistakes because it's the only way to learn. You don't learn from success. You don't learn from awards. You don't learn from celebrity. You only learn from wounds and scars and mistakes and failures, and that's the truth." That's from Jane Fonda. Okay, now let's go to the front page of the Philippine Star for the news, and here we go. The headline reads, "Prices of commodities may go up 15 to 20% according to the Department of Agriculture." This is primarily driven by the impact of Typhoon Karding on over 100,000 hectares of rice land, and of course damage to other types of crops. So what will go up or is expected to go up are those related to prime food requirements such as rice and poultry and meat and fish and vegetables. At the top of the front page, the header reads, "Department of Health declares Metro now at moderate risk for COVID." Please, Metro Manila is now categorized as moderate risk for COVID. So those of you who are constantly going out of your homes or who need to go out of your homes to work, to buy stuff, or just to go to the malls or to school, remember in Metro Manila, the COVID cases are on the rise. In fact, hospital cases in Pasig, Muntinlupa, Malabon, Makati, Navotas, and Caloocan are being monitored by the DOH. Below the header, we have fresh appointments set for 11 bypassed cabinet officials. The hearings of the Commission on Appointments ran out of time, and so there were 11 to 12 remaining cabinet members who were bypassed will have to be reappointed within the day or Monday so that they can once again be considered nominees for cabinet positions. Meanwhile, U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris is in Korea, or maybe may have left already, was in Korea and observed the area that is referred to as the demilitarized zone. And during her visit there, she announced that she intends to visit the Philippines later this year. And a little bit of bad news. The Philippines slipped 8 notches in the innovative index. Okay, in other words, we used to be 51. We are now 59 in terms of innovations, and primarily because of the low investments on research and studies related to science, technology, and innovation. Okay, that big photo at the middle, on the middle of the front page of the Philippine Star, is a photo of members of the House of Representatives led by Speaker Martin Romualdez as they celebrate the approval of the 5.268 trillion proposed national budget for 2023. And meanwhile, President Bongbong Marcos was at the ADB, or the offices of the Asian Development Bank, where he called on the audience to work together for an even better normal. Okay. And to the left of the front page, another photo. A group performs during the dance competition of the Pasundayag Samisamis Oriental at a mall in Cagayan de Oro City, part of the celebration of the 2022 National Tourism Week. And in relation to National Tourism Week, it was recently announced that a top travel body based in Thailand chose the Philippines as destination of the year. By the way, those of you who are really into travel and tourism, might I remind you that today is the beginning of the Travel Mart. I think it's the 33rd Travel Mart. We had them as our guests earlier this week, so don't miss it. They have lots of offerings. And the last few pieces of news, mandatory ROTC in college instead of senior high school, according to Vice President Sara Duterte. Very good move, Madam Vice President. Pass the problem to the Commission on Higher Education. Plus the fact, I myself have said that ROTC should be for an older set of students and not for senior high school, because that is the peak of their education and they're already overloaded, and even congressmen have said that. The bottom photo, last thing, the Vice President, Sara Duterte, joins the family and friends of the late Senator Miriam Defensor Santiago during the commemoration of her 6th death anniversary at the Loyola Memorial Park. With VP Sara, Tony Leviste, Pia Morato, lawyer Narciso Santiago, the husband of the late senator, and former Governor Ito Henares. Okay, that's all the news we have for today. And I announced yesterday morning that I am expecting a special guest. Now, in Filipino tradition, that is usually because you don't know who your guest will be or if you will have a guest. And I'm saying that because I got the shock of my life about this announcement. But first of all, let me give you some background. Time magazine, I think, okay, the TIME100 Impact Awards, okay, recognizes global leaders who have gone above and beyond to move their industries and the world forward. Now, I was told that a Filipina recently received the award or was one of the awardees, and that Filipina might be able to join us. But you know, I wasn't really confident because she's on the other side of the world and she's so busy and she's got so many things to do. But let's give it a try and let's see how it turns out. Let's roll the Betamax, Gabriel.
Given her global success and impact, multiple award-winning actress and singer Lea Salonga was named as one of the Time magazine's TIME100 Impact awardees for 2022.
I don't like you spending so much time online, Mal.
Currently, Lea Salonga has been busy with her latest role in the thriller Pretty Little Liars Original Sin. She also recently wrapped up her Dream Again concert tour in the United Kingdom.
Okay, welcome to the program, Miss Lea. This is really...
Good morning. Good morning to you.
I'm giddy. I'm not kidding because, you know, I was just talking about you a week ago with Lisa Dino of the film body.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, and I was saying, when are we going to see Filipina young adults being trained the way Lea Salonga was trained? Because I said Lea put in all the hard work, and that's why she's getting all the recognition. And voila, I am told you are, excuse me, TIME100 awardees. What's this
I know.
all about?
I know, right? I mean, I was a little bit, to be perfectly candid, a little shocked. And when my manager said that Time Magazine wants to honor you for their TIME100 Impact Awards, my gut response was, why? What did I do? What did I do in the last year? Thinking that awardees are normally recognized for what had happened in the previous year in just 365 days. That's usually how it goes. And then he said, oh, no. It's not for what you've done in the last year. It's what you've done throughout your entire career. I was like, oh, okay, sure.
Let's settle for that. Because if I had to review your entire career, I'd be on air for the next week. I mean,
without a break.
Without a break, because I was just going through some of the stuff you did. Apparently, the award also cited or pointed to the fact that you've become a voice, an inspiration to young women of color. And
I think to kids, I think just to kids in general of like people of color. I don't think it's specifically for women. I think it was for children because of the work that I've done with Disney, having voiced for 2 Disney princesses, both of whom are characters of color. I mean, Princess Jasmine is from a fictional city in what would be modern day Iraq, and Mulan is from China. So these are 2 headstrong, powerful, characters of color, and I was able to lend my voice to them.
But I think more than your voice, Lea, it's also your character. I mean, you can be headstrong when you want to. I've seen that side of yours artistically.
Yeah. I mean, I do have my moments when I have to fight for a point, or be able, and it's nice to be able to, I mean, I've been working on helping to develop a brand new musical, and I'm one of the many women in the room. And it's nice to know that my opinion counts, that I'm putting a stamp on a character, and whatever happens after this workshop, who I am and what I've been able to contribute to this piece will forever be woven into the DNA of it, whatever happens. And it's been an exciting process, and it's been wonderful to help push, something along that I feel is important, and something that I feel is beautiful, and something that I think will, could very well be a piece that a lot of people will find they resonate with, for whatever reason. It's, and then, but to go back to this honor, it's like, to be impactful is to have, I guess, to have made a dent in something as an entertainer, as, someone that just all I wanted to do is really just to get up on a stage and sing and make people happy. That's it. That's my end game.
That's
the end game. That's
child.
Oh no, that's still the end game for me now. It's, I want to try and help people find joy. And even all throughout the pandemic, I would do fundraisers to hopefully, even for a couple of minutes, give people a little relief. Nothing, no deep intention. It's just, I sing, this is what I can contribute. If people are able to find some joy in what I do, and happiness. And if I'm able to make an impact in that way, then you know what? Then that's what I've been put on this earth to do. I'd like to think.
Speaking of impact, Lea, it's not lost on me the fact that you're receiving the award. You are in New York right now.
Yeah.
Where are you going to be receiving the award? Are they just going to send it to you, or is there going to be an event?
There's an event, and I will have to get on a plane in about 24 or so hours because I'm heading to Asia. And then I receive the award, get back on another plane, come back to New York. So, I mean...
Yeah, but I was going to point to the fact that you're receiving the award at the time when there are racial issues, racial concerns, particularly among Filipinos in New York.
Right.
How does that, set with you right now?
It's very disturbing. And, for the most part, I can't operate my daily life, feeling fearful. And if I do, I'm not going to get anything done. I'm not going to be able to move forward with my life. Won't be able to take care of my child. I will not be able to, do what it is I was meant to do. If fear is what, is kind of this specter over my head.
Yeah.
When I first came over to New York last year to start working on Pretty Little Liars, my mother, and everybody knows my mother, was very resistant to me leaving. She didn't want me to go because of the concerns that you had just mentioned, that there is anti-Asian hate, because of political rhetoric that pointed to us as being, the ones to blame for this pandemic. And that's not the case. It's like, why are you going after us? What did we ever do?
Have you ever
it was scary.
Yeah, but have you ever gone out of the stage? Because I'm sure you get invited to the top talk shows, late night programs in the US and even in Asia. Have you ever actually spoken about this issue or about the authors of this rhetoric?
I try to be as careful as I can, but not turning a blind eye to it. I mean, quite a few of our kababayans have been on the receiving end of physical violence and have had people turn their backs on them, caught by closed circuit cameras. But the cool thing, though, is that there are a lot of Asian American people that are speaking out and being very loud. And there was one story, though, that really made me chuckle because I was like, oh, somebody messed with the wrong Pinoy today. And here's the story. The story was that there was a Caucasian lady that really, this needs to stop. I think she spat on her hand and then wiped it on a particular Filipina's article of clothing. I don't know what, if it was her jacket or her pants. This Filipino happened to come from a family of boxers, as in pugilists, as in she knew how to defend herself, and apparently she did. And so this person who started this altercation was, learned pretty quick that you shouldn't be messing with other human beings.
Yeah, particularly Filipinas, as Jokoy put it. The Filipino male, we're wimps compared to our women who are the mafias in the household. I mean,
I was raised in a family where the women folk were quite strong, and where my paternal grandmother was she was this tiny little woman who had really thick Coke bottle glasses, and her gray hair in a bun, but you did not mess with her. And everyone in the family knew that you should not mess with her. She's passed on now, and it's been many, many years since she's passed away, but she's legendary for being formidable and for being powerful and for people really catering to her and taking care of her. And when she had passed away, it was there was a very strong ripple that reverberated throughout our family. And she was a powerful little woman. And it was the same thing with the women in my mom's family.
Yeah, well, I can attest to the fact that you carry the genes, Miss Lea. And anyway, moving forward, as I confess to you, I haven't been out of the house much and haven't really done much in the last 2 years because we the senior citizens were the prisoners. We were the prisoners of COVID.
My 85-year-old mother can commiserate because she hasn't really been out of her house either, except to do a couple of things and get her boosters. Yeah,
so I have to confess, I only very recently caught up with what you've been doing. You're in New York. You're doing mini-series. Is it a mini-series? Is that still how they call it?
No, actually, no. I don't think it's a limited series. It was 10 episodes of the first season of Pretty Little Liars, and the series was picked up, which means that there will be a second season. I do not yet know what my involvement is because, the folks that have watched the show will be like, so what's going to happen with these moms? Their secret is out. What's next? I don't know. So I'm just going to sit and wait and see what the creators and showrunners have in store for the next season. And I'm just really happy for everybody that's a part of the show, that the show got picked up and that it was such a fan favorite on HBO.
Yeah, but how did that come about, Lea? Because sorry, you're stereotyped as a singer, theater, Broadway person, etc. And then I'm like, okay, this is going to be strange. She's not going to be nice in this role, and it's TV.
Yeah, I auditioned as actors do. I auditioned for it. I remember the date of the audition, actually, September the 1st, 2021, in my house because we're COVIDing the COVID. And so I put my audition on videotape. I was reading the lines with my manager, and I sent, everybody's grown accustomed to using Dropbox or Google Docs or whatever. Yeah. So I sent all of the raw video to him to send to the creative team over at PLL. And it was on, I think, September 9, I think. That's when my manager called and said that I had gotten the job. And then not long after that, I headed to New York and started working on the show maybe a week or so after my arrival. And I felt very welcomed and very excited and also really nervous because it had been a very long time since I'd done anything on camera in this way, as in acting on camera. Yeah. And thankfully it didn't take too long to get used to everything and, learning your lines really quickly and knowing what your angles are and asking questions and, and being present in the moment and being in a collaborative space with other actors again, which I hadn't done because we were COVIDing the COVID, right?
Yeah.
And so, I felt incredibly grateful to have an opportunity to get to work and to get to do something with people that I was a fan of. I mean, I watched a lot of Riverdale. I broke my leg a few years prior. And so I ended up watching a lot of TV on Netflix, and Riverdale was one of them. And the creator of that series was the creator of this particular one. So I was able to basically fangirl and tell the people that had worked on that show, you have no idea.
Yeah, but
I loved
come
your
on.
work and I loved your show. And
yeah, you're you're fangirling with these people, and I'm sure they're like drooling, watching you. It's like, no, this is Lea Salonga, this is Mulan, this is from Miss Saigon, etc.
Yeah.
I mean, they must have been, doing the same thing to you.
I think it was a mutual admiration society. I mean, if I'm a fan of someone or something, I will unabashedly fangirl, because I mean, I'm not going to hide my appreciation for the work for the work of people that I've enjoyed and really connected with. So it's and the least I can say is thank you so much for the many hours of suspenseful watching that you've given me. I was recovering from a broken leg, and I ended up fangirling.
How did you break your leg? I'm sorry, I hate to shift, but
it's fine. I mean, a woman from the tropics trying to ski, and I was on a ski vacation in Japan in 2019, and I think I might have been going too fast. It's a blur. And I ended up falling, and I hit. There was a very small break. It's not like I split my femur or whatever too, but it was substantial enough that I couldn't put weight on it. And so I had an MRI while I was still in Japan, and the doctor took one look at it and said, okay, you definitely broke your leg. And when I was examined by my doctor in Manila, when I came back, he said, this is what's going to happen after this many weeks. You're going to go into physical therapy to get your range of motion back. You're going to have to undergo all of this hard work in order to be able to whatever. And I said, well, can I start performances again in April, which was when I was going to have a US tour? And he said, with reluctance, he said, as long as you do the exercises that the PT people give you, as long as you are good about that and disciplined about that, and that everywhere you go, you have to be in a wheelchair, going through airports, you can't be on your leg for too long, then and then my next concern would be, how am I going to do these concerts? What am I going to do? How am I, because normally I get up in front of a microphone and I sing, and I'm standing in a pair of heels and in a gown and entertaining people. And, I figured it out. My manager and we figured it out. And he said, you do what you've done, but you sit. You don't put weight on your leg. You can hobble on with crutches. You put your crutches away. You sit for the entire thing, and you sing from a seated position. The audience will understand. And I discovered that, the audiences are very understanding. And I think just really appreciative of the fact that you still showed up to do it.
Yeah.
And one thing I realized is that when your intention, when singing the songs, when it's clear, and when you know what you're singing about, you don't need a lot of the fireworks or any of the stage effects or whatever. It's, ultimately people came to the concert to hear me sing. And so I sang.
Yeah.
And, audiences were still really, I think they were very appreciative and very happy.
Yeah, I discovered that myself when I had a major problem with my spine. And I discovered how kind Filipinos can be to people with canes. And I almost didn't want to lose it, but the doctor said, Cito, you don't need the stupid thing. Stop playing.
Not anymore. I know you're getting it for the sympathy. It's the sympathy now. And, okay. and so I understood what it meant to be. And one of my friends has an invisible disability. And so I was telling her, I'm like, for however many months I have to be in this chair or with a walker or however, I'm a person of disability. And you learn real quick that, facilities back home in Manila are not always built for people that have the wheelchairs or the walkers or any, any of that, any of the apparatus that you require just to be able to get around, and somebody sent me a picture of a ramp that was a 45-degree pitch. I'm like, that is a joke. That cannot be a wheelchair ramp. Are you kidding me? And I'm like, that's a kiddie slide in a playground. That's
okay, yeah, that's true. Anyway, let's go for a quick break before I get you all heffed up again. But we'll go for a 1 minute break, and when we come back, I'd like to pick up on all your activities, catch up on what you're really getting into, and I know you as the young lady whose middle name is Discipline. How has that worked out for you? We'll be right back here on Agenda. Okay, during the break, Lea Salonga and I were talking about the beautiful background that she has. It's the agenda background. I'm sorry, Lea. I just need to give credit where credit is due.
Absolutely.
Because, that's a team agenda that put that up, not me. And I think in your line of work, in your profession, a lot has to be said also with props and backgrounds, etc. So anyway, going back to the topic of discussion, okay, what have you been up to? I'm like, what? She's in New York? What? She's doing a TV series? What? She's doing a play, etc.
I have been pretty busy.
Yeah. How do you manage it?
With God's grace, I think.
Amen.
No, amen. So we haven't started work yet on Pretty Little Liars.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been able to just focus on this. I've been part of a workshop for a brand new musical based on the book called The Song of Bernadette. And it's based on the miracle at Lourdes, where Bernadette is digging and digging and digging, and she is eating mud and coating her face and her arms with this mud and masabiel. And there actually was a spring where she was digging, and that is now the site of pilgrimages to Lourdes in France. And so it's an interesting story about this young girl's life, this young girl who is a teenager and who, is visited by the Virgin Mary. And, and this spring that she was digging turns out to be a site of miracles. And it's not always the literal physical miracles. Sometimes, and we had a Catholic priest who grew up not too far from Lourdes, who came to visit us. And he said, sometimes the miracles that happen are not literal. As in, you can have blind people go, they will put the holy water on their eyes and still not receive physical healing.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a blind man, he said, that actually went to Lourdes and did that. And the miracle was more internal. He said, I guess through the grace of God, he was able to come to peace with his physical condition and was able to find grace and love, So,
Mm-hmm.
and I was just kind of dumbstruck by that story.
Yeah, well,
And
we tend to think black and white, yes or no. And
there's so many shades of gray in the world, and it's not always this binary. And so sometimes the miracle is not, it's not literal.
Okay, now going back to this project, this workshop, how do you figure out if a certain idea, a play, or even a movie or a TV series is going to be good for you as an artist and is going to be successful? Because I've been binge watching, I confess. Okay, binge watching all of these documentaries, all of these former talk show biggies, just trying to learn what happened to them in the last year. And it can be a hit or miss.
And it's a risk that you take. You don't always know.
Yeah.
And the thing about, say, embarking on a journey of being involved with developing a Broadway musical, and I've been a part of quite a few.
Mm-hmm.
You don't always go in knowing if something is going to be a success or not. And it's the unknown that's kind of exciting.
Did you ever have one? Did you ever have one that you were really worried, you were anxious, and turned out like, hey, I didn't see this?
We always go in with the best of intentions.
Mm-hmm.
And, we go in and try to develop the pieces and take it as far as we can go. And if it makes it to Broadway, then okay, that's fantastic. But just because a show makes it to Broadway, it doesn't mean that it's going to be an instant hit, despite casting, despite story. I mean, one of the last musicals I did, titled Allegiance, was based on the many stories of the Japanese American community and the Japanese American internment.
Yeah.
During World War II, the internment camps that were up and down the West Coast. And I think there was even one in Hawaii, I just learned. And we're thinking, okay, this is a great backdrop for drama, because this is World War II. And it was a story that has not been told a lot. It's maybe you'll be lucky if a history book relegated a paragraph to it. It was one of those dark times in American history where America didn't get it right. I mean, because of what happened in Pearl Harbor, they rounded up all of these Japanese Americans in the United States, especially in the West Coast, and put them behind bars just because they were of Japanese descent. Yeah. And it's like, I'm like, well, this might be really interesting to do. And, it wasn't the massive hit we were hoping, despite that the music was beautiful. The story was great. And, George Takei, it's his personal story because he himself was an internee along with his parents and his brother and his sister.
George Takei is the the Star Trek guy.
Yeah, he was Sulu. Hikaru Sulu in Star Trek. And, he's a massive TV star and someone who is an icon in the Asian American community here. And so for him to want that story to be told, but I guess there were people that either refused to listen to the story or mistook it as an anti-American story, and
what about
it is what it is.
Yeah. What about this new play or this new project that you have? It's a from what I heard, most people will probably say, "Oh, it's a religious play. Oh, it's a Catholic thing."
No, here's the thing. Here's the funny thing.
Okay.
Frank Wildhorn, who is the composer of musicals like Jekyll and Hyde, The Scarlet Pimpernel, Dracula, numerous pop hits with a lot of different artists. He and his writing partner, Robin Lerner, are Jewish. I think Robin's Jewish. I'm not sure. Maybe she's not. I'm sorry. But I know that Frank is. Our script writer, our book writer, Rena Groff, is Jewish.
Mm-hmm.
And members of the cast are of different religious backgrounds. If anybody's even religious, there are people who are raised agnostic, or there are people who are part Jewish and maybe were raised Catholic or whatever religion, or are not religious at all. The show is more about faith. It has nothing to do with a particular religion. And you even see people within the Catholic religion who are part of the show. For example, a character who is a nun or a character who is a priest.
Yeah.
You know, they say that whatever is happening, it's like it brought me back into my faith. And it's been a very interesting process to be a part of this. And I was brought in, my manager sent me the music and the script, and I read the script and I listened to the songs. And, for me, it was, my intention was, okay, we're going to finally get to go back into a rehearsal room, work on this show, regardless of what happens in this workshop. I get to play. I get to play with people in a room, which is something I've not really done in a musical theater setting for, since 2019. Haven't done that. So
how has that been for you, Lea, coming back? Because I said, like me, I didn't accept any gigs, hosting, teaching, lecturing. I didn't accept for a year because I said, look, I'm not a techie. I don't want to go on YouTube, etc. And then somebody pointed out to me, hey, Doofus, you've been doing your show on YouTube for the last 2 years. How can it be any different? What was it like for you?
I pretty much remained homebound, except when I had to get my vaccinations. I had to obviously leave my house and go to the vaccination centers. But for the rest of it, I stayed home. And if I had a gig, if it was a live gig, I would just have to make sure that my internet was stable and I would do the gig. Some of the fundraising stuff I did, I used my cell phone as a camera, and the technology has advanced to a point where we can actually do this. The camera I'm using now is on my phone. Wow. And I think it's coming out pretty clear. Yep. And it's really the only piece of equipment that I need, and a tripod. So, I'm not balancing this thing precariously on like a water bottle or whatever. So, there are basic pieces of equipment that I did have to get.
Yeah.
And I was able to procure these things little by little. So I pretty much have a full-on setup.
Yeah, you mentioned.
Go ahead. I was able to do everything.
You mentioned fundraisers, because that's one aspect that's not really talked about when the name Lea Salonga comes up. We always talk about song, theater, discipline, but not fundraisers. Can you share that a little, if you don't mind? Because I am one of those. No, I don't mind.
They were very public.
I believe that people should know that you do that I have my own stuff, because to encourage others.
Yeah. There was there was an initiative and an effort from a lot of artists back home called, I think it's Bayanihan Musikahan. And, people like Ryan Cayabyab, Trina Belamide, a host of techie people, a lot of artists, so many creative folks just really getting together, creating logos, creating a platform on which we could donate and be able to participate as artists and be able to do what it is we love to do, creating content and putting together concerts. And, I was able to hire arrangers to arrange music for me again and send them to me via -1. And, I was just able to kind of have some semblance of being able to do a concert, even though, it was not in a room with other people in the way that I'm accustomed. But I knew that there were people watching, and I kept, I had a laptop open that served as kind of the laptop was open just so that I could kind of monitor certain things. I had my camera, which was my cell phone. So yeah.
But the fundraiser was to help musicians specifically, or a whole bunch of artists?
It was just to help people in general, people in the city that didn't have anything and were turning to. I think there were different local initiatives that were partnering with BM in order to, to get food out and to just basically to help as many people as we can. There was another initiative, and I can't remember the name now because it's been so long, that was specific for artists to really help people in the industry that were impacted by COVID, because our industry was one of the first to shut down and one of the last to come back. And, and the live entertainment industry includes everything. It includes weddings. It includes hosting events. It includes birthday parties. It includes, name it. If there's an entertainer, that falls under that umbrella. And everyone was out of a job. And, there are those of us who are fortunate in that, we've been able to save up, and we would be able to weather a couple of years of not working. But I can't say that for a lot of other people who lived from paycheck to paycheck to paycheck, and then all of a sudden there were no paychecks coming in. And these are people backstage,
makeup
dressers, artists, dancers, crew, just a lot of people who all of a sudden had nothing to depend on.
Which actually brought to mind the fact that maybe folks like you should really begin to push for a Department of Culture and Arts, because, listening to one of those, I think Masters of the Theater interviews, one person pointed out that a country without a Minister of Culture or Secretary of Culture has got serious problems when it comes to the arts. And it just struck me in the Philippines. Anyway, we'll go
we did have one, didn't we? Didn't we have like DEC, Department of Education,
many years ago,
Cultures and Sports, and what happened?
Everything just became a halo as usual.
And the irony to me is that we trumpet about Filipino artists being excellent, and Filipino artists this, Filipino artists that, and we're so proud, and yada, yada, yada. So we, and given that, it only makes sense that given that our artists are such an export, go anywhere in the world, you will find Filipino artists doing their thing. We should have one. I mean, you've pointed it out. We should have a department. I mean, we've already been able to do, and thanks to so many folks, creative industries bill was just passed, which makes me ecstatic. But to take that further, there needs to be a department for, where people like me and the entire creative and artistic, industry can fall under, and where it needs to be given priority, so that it doesn't seem to be, it's like ironic for me.
Okay.
The irony just strikes me. Let's
go for another 1 minute break, the last one for the day. And when we return, let's talk about the future for Lea Salonga. What do we have to watch out for? And any chance on Lea's legacy becoming racing the next Lea Salonga? Okay, we'll go for a quick break here on Agenda. Welcome back to the program Agenda. Our very special guest, my surprise for the week, and I suppose answered prayer as well, is none other than Miss Lea Salonga. Lea, thank you really for joining us this morning. Now, earlier,
my pleasure. This is truly a pleasure to see you again. So it's great. I'm happy to be here.
And alive, mind you, given the reality.
Alive, you know what? Alive and thriving. A bunch of us in rehearsal, some of whom are currently in Broadway shows. I would ask the question every morning, how are you doing? And the answer I would get is, I am tired, but I am grateful. And that seems to be the spirit that everyone is operating on. We're tired, but we're grateful.
That is in your community of performers. In my community of senior citizens, the operating term seems to be legacy. Earlier, you mentioned that you're raising a child. And I had to ask permission during the break to, just to be polite. Because, I respect privacy and, we protect the privacy of children. But speaking of children, so you have one or, okay, you have a child?
One and only named Nicole. And she's here with me in high school and, figuring her own way in the world. I'm not going to impose my way on that human only because, everyone has their own path to walk. All I can be is the person that'll catch, if something happens or if something goes wrong. But for the most part, you know what? I keep telling a lot of people this. I really lucked out with the kid I got. I really, really did. Just a good human being. And I am just incredibly proud of this kid. Just she has my whole heart. That's really it. And, incredibly artistic with the hands and with, writing stories. And very, very creative. So I'm like, yeah, I really lucked out with that one. Not always the best with mathematics, but that's okay. She doesn't have to be.
Well, you just tell Nicole that Cito has a master's degree in Math 11.
Oh!
I took it 7 times. So okay.
I think she'll appreciate that.
No shame on that one. Anyway,
no, not at all.
Okay, now you mentioned that she's artistic. Is it visual arts, or are you immersing her in your culture? Because, I saw you. I think I can, honestly say this. I saw you grow up. Back in those days, you were always in the magazines, on TV. And I'm like, this child literally, except for being born on stage, she literally grew up on stage. Now,
yes, I did.
Would you prescribe the same routine, discipline to aspiring Filipinos, or even to Nicole? We have this famous group SB19. They call them.
Yes.
What would you tell them? Should they really live their lives totally committed on the stage, or what are your learnings from your life?
Well, the lessons that I have learned, you have to try and find some sort of balance. And I'll admit that I was not always able to figure that out, because I really prioritized career and the work, and being disciplined about the work, and living a monastic life when you're doing a musical 6 to 8 times a week. That's just the life. And you have to have a community or a village around you that understands that. And I'll come up for air when I come up for air, and my friends are ready to catch me when I do. When they, everybody in my life knows, oh, she's in a musical, we're not going to hear from her for a while. And it is what it is. The kind of discipline, it isn't just about being on time. That's only a small part of it. And there are people that identify it as, oh, it means you have to be on time. It's not just about that. It's, you got to know your stuff. Showing up on time means actually showing up 15 minutes early. That's what on time is supposed to mean. That's one. Two, you got to know your stuff before you go into the room. You have to have looked at your script pages, or studied your music, or, you have to show up knowing something, and maybe having questions about this something.
Mm-hmm.
You can't come in, a complete idiot and not knowing anything. And I've seen that happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel for the music department, for example, if we're doing some sort of medley for a concert.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that makes me proud of the theater people is that whoever the theater people are, they will all show up knowing the medley, knowing who's supposed to sing what, even if it's not memorized. It's not about that. Who sings what, who comes in when, and, and have questions and are ready for staging. Then there are other folks who come to the rehearsal, number one, late, and number two, not having listened to the study that the music department had sent. Mm-hmm. And I can feel then the frustration from the people that have to wait for whatever artist it is that has to learn at the venue what everyone had taken the time to learn at home.
Not just your own personal discipline, but respecting the expectation and the requirements of your coworkers.
Exactly.
Okay.
And if you're working with other people, and usually in this industry, there's no such thing as solo flying. You're working with the director, with a writer, with the music department. You're maybe the arranger or whatever, however many musicians, whether it's a 6-piece band or a 35-piece orchestra. You're working with people, and it's a collaborative industry. No one really solo flies. You're working with costume designers, directors, scriptwriters, whatever. You're working with a whole troop of people. And there is respect that everyone needs to give everyone else,
Okay.
And without that, nothing's going to move forward in the way that it should, in the way that, actual real progress on a piece or even in a medley on a show can be made.
Well,
so it's,
Lea,
it's frustrating.
you know what really frustrates me? That 1 hour with you is never enough.
Has an hour passed already?
Yeah.
My goodness. Wow.
Anyway, I'll give you a short time, minute to greet our viewers and invite them to your projects and upcoming season 2. Please go ahead, Lea.
Okay, thanks, Cito. To everybody watching Agenda, first of all, you guys, thanks for the invitation to come and to talk and to, be able to celebrate this Time 100 Impact Awards recognition. And to everybody that sent messages of congratulations, thank you. I can't name all of you, would be here forever. And for those who have been supporting me very actively throughout my entire career, thank you, truly, from the bottom of my heart, because it is you that makes this career possible. And, the other collaborator in a collaborative industry, it's the people that come to see the shows. It's you that give us reactions and responses that only make us want to be better at what it is that we do. Our mission is to hopefully bring joy and happiness and entertainment. Hopefully I've been able to be that for you. And that's really what I've been put on this earth to do, and to hopefully be part of shows that move and, make people, feel the feelings, all the feelings. And, to people that I have worked with throughout these many years, thank you so much for sharing your talent with me and for being someone I could share my own talent with. To my mentors, for teaching me and training me well, thank you. And there will be many projects coming up in the next year to come. So I hope that you'll all watch for it. My website usually has all the information anyway. It's leasalonga.com. So check the calendar for upcoming performances in the United States or wherever else in the world I may be heading to. And that's really it. Thanks for thank you for letting me put that out there.
Okay. Thank you very much, Lea Salonga. And I didn't say it in the beginning, but my dear, you look wonderful. You are still as pretty as ever. And for those of you who want to know, you can just shoot her an email, because I'm not going to go into what product she uses, because I don't think you do. Anyway,
Facial Care Center. That's it. Facial Care Center. They're the genuine article, and I wouldn't say it if they weren't. They really are wonderful. Their centers are open. They're safe. Go get yourself, have a me day, enjoy it.
Yeah, thank you very much, Lea. God bless you. I pray that the Lord will,
God's blessings to you too. Thank
will
you.
honor the work of your hands and the purity of your heart. Thank you very much. Have a great day, Lea.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and that's Miss Lea Salonga. And now I leave you with the final reading of our blessing for the week. And may those who perpetually pour receive. May those who constantly carry discover what it feels like to be supported. May those hidden behind walls of silence find safe places to speak. May those who fight for others encounter those who will fight for you. From Dr. Thima, and I'm Cito Beltran, thanking you today, this week, and hope to see you next week, God willing. Please keep it here on One News and on Cignal TV.